The promise of true motion-based controls on the Nintendo Wii has been too much for some developers to pass up. That's probably why we've seen so many games try to shoehorn nearly every movement and action into the wiggle-waggle capabilities of the Wii Remote, usually with god-awful results. The latest offender is Bleach: Shattered Blade. As with most fighting games, the storyline in Shattered Blade is mostly indecipherable and completely irrelevant. The game basically takes the popular characters from the manga and TV series and makes them fight it out. There is an episode mode that offers a threadbare narrative following the exploits of several different characters, but really it's all just a flimsy excuse to add some kind of context to the battles.
Alright, Captain Kurotsuchi. I'll collect the Sokyoku shards.
Shattered Blade is based on a game for the GameCube that was only released in Japan. Seeing a rapid decline in the GameCube market, the developers retooled the title for the Wii, taking into consideration the peculiar functionality of the Wii Remote. Outside of the Wii controls, which we'll get to in a moment, Bleach is a pretty standard anime-based fighting game. You'll eventually gain access to 32 different playable characters that you can use to fight it out in the game's arcade mode. There are also the requisite versus and training options. And finally, there's a Yurahara shop where you can spend money that you've earned on various bits of unlockable content like costumes, voices, 2D art, and the somewhat embarrassing 3D models, which have the now ubiquitous breast-bouncing animations firmly in place. Instead of button mashing, players are expected to slash, chop, and jab their way to victory courtesy of the Wii Remote. Used in conjunction with a couple of simple button presses, these moves can be either weak, unblockable, or special, with the latter being impressively powerful. But those are just the normal attacks. Players also have a Bankai gauge, which slowly fills up as you fight. Once full, you can choose to unleash the power and gain access to a set of attacks that are even more ridiculously over the top than the ones you normally have.
It's over! That's over!
If any of this sounds familiar, it's probably because Bleach: Shattered Blade is mired in game mechanics that have been overused to the point of cliché. The combat essentially boils down to a flashy, colorful, and hyperactive game of rock, paper, scissors. And because the Bankai attacks are so supremely powerful, matches often become a race to see who can max out their Bankai gauge the fastest.
Right here. 6 bars of light.
Oddly enough, the computer appears to be ill-equipped to handle this fighting system. We were able to breeze through the episodes in arcade modes without much trouble just by randomly waving the Wii Remote around and invoking our Bankai attacks. And you really shouldn't worry too much about which attacks correspond to your movements with the Wii Remote. The game appears to be incapable of telling the difference most of the time. There's a neat little tool in the game that shows you just how the game is interpreting your movements, and it turns out that nearly all of our slashing moves were read as thrusts. Only through a very deliberate and smooth side-to-side move were we able to register a true slash. And in a game as spastic as Bleach, there's no place for deliberate and smooth moves. Instead of cel-shaded graphics, which have become the de facto standard for any and all anime-based fighting games, Bleach uses an interesting hand-painted and pencil-shaded look. It's really quite nice, despite the low resolution of the Wii, but it's really only noticeable during close-ups and special attacks.
What the hell kind of twisted scheme is this?
The rest of the game is as you might expect. Characters exhibit their signature moves while spouting repetitive one-liners.
Can you dodge this?
This quickly gets old, especially since you'll be using the special Bankai attacks during nearly every round.
Come on!
Bleach is an average fighting game that's shallow enough for nearly anyone to pick up, play, and do reasonably well. And that would be perfectly acceptable for fans of the source material, were it not for the horribly conceived Wii controls.